Ooh. This is the 8-9 combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones, and this is the Weekend Post-Mortem. Hello, mate. How you doing?
How's it, man? A lot of times things are very negative on social media and in our world in general. People take fabricated outrage. They look for the darkest part of every story. They immediately react too quickly. I had a very weird little exchange this weekend that brought hope and light back into my life. Charlie Morgan, our friend, posted something about Henry Pollock, talking about his incredible diversity of athletic feats, that he's sort of a decathlete almost, because for his size, he's really good in the Bronco, he's pretty quick. And he listed some exact measurements, which I quite like. And I think rugby is too secretive about what everyone's bench press is and their vertical leap. So he put them out there, and he just quoted some other guy out there that said, even in South Africa, this Henry Pollock would be an outlier. And I just commented, I said, not on that bench and that vertical leap. I mean, I could do that bench, and I'm 3 times as old as Henry Pollock. And on the vertical leap, I'm sorry, but have you seen Pierce Spice's videos or Cameron Hanekom off the ground, or anyone, Khaleesi, Matanda? So I did that. I said that, and Charlie was like, yeah, I get that. I was just kind of thinking maybe the overall. We had a nice chat, and then some guy comes in, some guy Tom, and he just goes, well, I think those are pretty good. And then he throws out some things. He goes, I mean, that he's benching he's benching like Will Skelton. And I said, that's very pathetic if Will Skelton can only bench 140 kg. Again, I could do that. And so then the guy was like, no, I mean, like, it's like he was benching Will Skelton.
As in over his head.
And then I said, oh yeah. And then we became friends. And because we didn't get bent out of shape. I just go, no, I see your point now. But then I went down a rabbit trail thinking, what would it be like to actually bench press Will Skelton? That would be very difficult.
It'd be awkward because he's so big that his center of gravity would be like
it's all in his arse, so you just get like one hand would have a lot of weight, and then over here you'd be kind of flopping around. Big shoes.
It's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a really good point. Look,
everyone, if you can just understand why you miscommunicated and then articulate it. Tom and I are friends now. It's okay.
There you go. These things can happen. It's funny. Look, I had a little bit of fun on Sunday morning after seeing all those Champions League scores, Champions Cup scores over the weekend, and I just popped the scores up and just with a little comment: is there any defence left in Super Rugby anymore? Because that was a bit of a throwaway line at the start of the year, and yes, the litany of responses and excuses that came back for that. It's all the English fault. Anyway,
mismatches.
Yes, exactly. We're really looking forward to getting into the post-mortem, pulling out all the big results from the games that grabbed us from the leagues this weekend. There is some hefty margins and score lines to get through in the Champions Cup round of 16, another intriguing round of Super Rugby, and some scores from Japan, Rugby League 1 and Major League Rugby as well. There's been some interesting scores this weekend, hasn't there?
Yeah, very strange. And there is something. So besides the mismatch thing where you have, these juggernaut super teams that have 900 caps, and they're all capped, playing against a team that just qualified by having 1 win out of 4. There's that. But there is a thing about referees, moods, implementation, flow, where if a team does get on top right now in 2025, they can just roll you. There just seems to be no respite. There's no caterpillaring. There's no walking to the line out. When you just aren't playing very well, you can
really get
slow.
Yes,
there's this great scene of and at the end of the game, there's this great scene of an Italian referee telling Ty Byrne, listen, I'm going to talk to you right now because there's like 6 minutes to go, and Munster got on top. And he goes, we are not going to slow down the game. And I just thought, oh, that is so brutal. I had triggers of your French guy.
We play.
Right now, Matthew Renault might be in vogue. I mean, he was before his time.
He was before. Yeah, I've always said that about him. Remember, if you are watching on YouTube, just hit the red subscribe button down there in that little bottom corner. And if you're listening to the 8-9 Combo via Spotify, by Apple Pods, any of the podcast platforms, hit subscribe, hit follow, hit like, whatever you need to do, and make sure you don't miss an episode. Let's post-mortem-size. Mate, I think I just made up a word. Champions Cup, round of 16 games, and there are some hefty score lines in that. Northampton 46-24 over Clermont. This one stood out for you. You told me about Alex Mitchell's try-saving tackle. I think I've managed to clip it up. This is it here. Talk us through this.
Yeah, so everyone who's played rugby has done this thing where someone's by you and you try to do the ankle tap. And usually you're going for the ankle. And there's a bit like a split-second moment where if you can tap that ankle, then that foot wraps against the back of the leg. In this case, Alex Mitchell was done, finished. Delguy had done him. He was on his way. There was just nothing that would stop him. So Alex comes in, slides. He really concentrates on the slide. He gets maximum speed, almost like he's scoring a try. And by doing that, he gets in a very weird position that I hardly ever seen, where he actually gets the whole palm of his hand onto the back of the calf of the runner.
Yeah.
And just kind of hits it.
And for our pod listeners, we're looking at a couple of stills from the live vision. And yeah, Alex Mitchell with his left hand sort of reaches out, hits like behind the knee, and just sort of basically pulls down to slap the two ankles together. It's a perfect ankle tap, isn't it?
So what my man Delguy does is he keeps running because he hasn't. It's like there's a delay. It's like whoomp, 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 I'm still running, and then the thing happens, and he's still not sure that he's going to go down, and he goes down.
Yeah,
real time before they went back and showed that reverse angle. It just looked like the sniper happened, and the guy just fell down out of nowhere. And it was only Alex Mitchell was not boarded until later.
Yeah, no, it was good.
So I'll say before the whole Champions Cup round I put up my scores, and I actually got a couple of the only upset right, I think. But I said most of these games will be over by halftime. And I was really interested that they were very different from each other, though. The Saints, with 16 line breaks and 34 beaten defenders, they really had to fight for the first, I think, 20 minutes. The game was in the balance, and then the floodgates open. Some of the other games, it was really like they just didn't put them away until 55 minutes. So that was interesting because Clermont had your friend Rob Sims, and it had Newsom, had some good Aussies running around.
Yeah, Israel. I'm having a mind blank. Ira Simone in the centres. Yeah.
No, it had an Australian flavour, and they played really well. It's just that there was a Freeman cannot stop scoring, and then Finn Smith. I mean, can anyone be more just meteoric than this guy? I mean, he is a meteor. Absolutely. Like he's gone from nowhere to test debut to Lions
starting Lions 10 in the space of where up to April.
Probable, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite incredible, and that's actually a really good win from for Northampton too. 46-24. They've been fairly up and down, I think we've got to say, in the premiership so far. So that is a good win for them. Toulon thumped Saracens 72-42. The surprise in that is that Saracens scored 42 because they certainly flew the white flag on the selection table.
So here's my statistical weirdness about this game, the series. So there's 16 tries scored by Toulon. There's 52 defenders beaten. Can you believe that?
114 points.
25 offloads. But here's why I don't want anyone to talk to me about territory and possession as if it's a big thing, a starting point, because it was 50-50. Literally, by the end of the game, it was 50-50. So don't start there.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah.
No, that's it. So sometimes territory possession tells you absolutely nothing about a game. Yes, absolutely. Where are we up to? Castres 39 beat Benetton 37.
Bring the biff. That was a biff game.
Yeah, and Castres had to score a converted try in the 78th minute to win that. So I've not seen any of this yet. I'm going to go back and find some
absolutely
highlights for the weekend's out.
Yeah, I recommend everyone to watch this game. There's moments of lunacy, but there's a proper throwdown all teams in shoving. People go over the barriers, over
Really?
the advertisements. And I think it's our friend Jamie Lyle, the Scottish commentator,
Yeah.
who, almost like he's not sure he's talking out loud, and he goes, because someone gets their shirt ripped off, and he goes, the sunburned, sinewy muscles are being exposed for the spectators. We're like, Jamie, are you okay? He was way too into the bare-chested, rippled muscles of someone.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Where are we up to? Leinster 62, thumped Harlequins 0. That's an absolute belt up. Munster 24 beat La Rochelle. Munster 25 beat La Rochelle 24.
Unbelievable match.
And well, I'm going to have to check this one out. They're the only surprise there, after wondering for months now whether La Rochelle care anymore, is that they scored a try in the 76th minute to bring the margin back to 1 point. Like, I'm surprised. Why would they bother? It just doesn't. It's not like they're going to get a bonus point for losing a round of 16 game, is it? It doesn't really seem to achieve like.
Wonderful match. Munster travels. Their contingent was really loud. I know a lot of those guys, and so I was communicating with them, men and women. They were just singing, shouting, booing. There were times in the match where, even though La Rochelle is an incredible home ground, and their outrage at various points was preposterously loud, Munster was right there with them on the volume. Peter O'Mahony was in rare form, and it took a drop goal, a beautiful drop goal struck by Jack Crowley. He flushed it sweet. It looked, it just looked beautiful. And then from that point on, because that put it out to 8, to your point.
Yep.
And then from that point on, it was just a battle to see if time could be wasted enough. And Tyburn had the little referee lecture. Back on the other one about with the Leinster, I will say I do love statistical anomalies, and when you have a game that one-sided, it was the line breaks were 26-1. I think that's just amazing.
So Quinn's made one line break in that. Yeah, right.
Just imagine a game where you have one line break and they have 26.
That's one of those.
Gonna be a sad day.
That's one of those stats you see down a sheet and you go, is that right, or is that a
typo?
Really? Yeah. Only one? Yeah. Is that a typo? Yeah. Exactly right. Glasgow 43 beat Leicester 19. And this is the game that I had intentions of watching live. And what I'll say is that daylight saving has changed in Australia. So I've got to go back to this one.
My favorite moment of this match. It wasn't much in this match. Tigers just didn't have it. Obviously, they have some really good players out there, and they obviously can do it. They just didn't have a good day at the office. And Glasgow had one of those days where everything went right. The ball bounced their way every single time. But my favorite early was Joe Hayes, whose father
you've told me about this. I've got it.
A goalkeeper for some reason. And this big prop is running into contact, and he just gets his complete jersey gets shifted over him. He gets cocooned inside it. He's still carrying the ball, so he has to go to ground, not really knowing where he is at this point, and he presents the ball perfectly.
He does. He really does. And again, for our pod listeners, we're again looking at another couple of clips from this, and remember who was the big Sharks number 8? Just had his jersey completely ripped off in the middle of. Yeah, that's right. Had his jersey ripped off him, and he just went, fine, and just threw it aside and made like a 50-meter line break. It was the funniest thing you've ever seen.
And he has quite the rig too. So
yes, he
was
does.
Like, sure. But in this case, I just thought, so that wasn't ruled as illegal anyway. In fact, I think Glasgow got a penalty off the resulting pilfer. So you could just do that. You should start training your players to basically make everyone blind.
Yeah, that's it. The contrast to Jan Dazel from years ago is Lockie Lonergan from the Brumbies had his jersey ripped off as he was making a line break a couple of years ago. That didn't look great. And the best part of it is he's been trying to live it down ever since. So there's 2 games to go actually. Bordeaux playing Ulster and Toulouse playing Sale. They're both late Sunday games in France. So we'll have those scores, and we'll have all the quarterfinal matchups in games of the week coming out later this week as well. So that'll be interesting. We haven't talked about the Challenge Cup, the bastard son of the European competitions, but the short of it was there's comfortable wins to Edinburgh, to Bath, the Bulls, and to Connacht. Glasgow won 24-17 in Montpellier. Racing 92 won 24-18 in Perpignan. Ospreys, Scarlets, Lions, Sharks, Sharks still to come there. So quarterfinals, we'll touch on that later in the week. Remind me to touch on that later in the week.
I enjoyed the Bulls match. It was kind of fun to see Jake White. Who his new thing is to have 6 bottles of water, and he consumes about 5 before the halftime. He must have a piss pot under the table. I don't know how you can just suck that much water, and just gets red faced. No one's allowed in the box with him. It's just Jake and his water. And the Bulls, handled Bayonne. Now, so Bayonne did something different. All the French side put proper teams out there, the A teams, because this is the most important thing for them. Mm-hmm. And they platooned during their 26 round, top 14. So it's kind of different. Whereas some of the other leagues, it's the other way around. So in this case, Bayonne didn't put an A-B team on, Bulls at an A-B team. But I quite liked it. It was a really interesting game. And I thought it was interesting, too, because, once again, someone lost their shirt. Akker van der Merwe was stripped, but he was wearing the sports bra, the GPS thing. So
yes.
Different.
Yeah.
It is weird to imagine that Akker van der Merwe and Duan van der Merwe come from the same family, though, because, Duan looks like a sculpted Greek god, Afrikaner on android. And then you have Akker, the warthog.
It feels like their rooms are at opposite ends of the house.
Akker's older too. Yeah.
Is he really? Yeah, right. There you go. There you go. Super Rugby round 8. There was some interesting results there. I mean, Chiefs Queensland was a ripping game played in horrible weather in Hamilton on Friday night, 27-15. The Chiefs won that. Moana Pasifika 45, the Waratahs 28 in Albany. That's an incredible win. That is the first time Moana have registered consecutive wins in their existence. It's a huge thing for them now. And I'll come back to this point because the Crusaders beat the Drua 31-14 in Suva. The Blues held on to beat the Sharks, the Hurricanes 19-18 in Auckland. That was an interesting one as well. It was 13-all at half time. Bowden Barrett kicked a penalty goal in the 67th minute and then missed one in the 76th minute as well. So the Blues have just won by any means. And then the Western Force 29 beat the Highlanders in Perth. The Moana thing is interesting, mate, because, and I was sort of talking about this in our chat group on Saturday afternoon, and I just sort of made the point that Moana, it's like Moana and the Drua have switched spots. They're in opposite spots on the table. The Drua are now running dead last, and they're in a world of trouble now. They've won 1 game out of 7, and with only 9 to go, they've got a lot of ground to make up, and I think it's actually going to be quite trouble for them. Moana, on the other hand, though, are 2 points out of the top 6 right now, and they've got a bit of momentum behind them. So everything that was down is up again in Super Rugby. Everything that you thought to be true is completely opposite. It is all over the place now. But as we've spoken about numerous times, that's what's made it interesting this year.
Yeah, so I have thoughts, but I want to organize them in my head because you went a lot of places there. I think everyone switched places with someone. I almost think that the Blues became last year's Crusaders, and the Crusaders became last year's Chiefs, and the Chiefs became last year's Blues.
Yep.
And an awful lot is so the Chiefs are good. There's no doubt that Chiefs are good. They clarified that by their win, their handy win over the Reds, because I thought it was quite dominant in the end.
Yep.
And controlled. So that solved one of our benchmark issues. But a lot is riding on this Australian Renaissance on the idea, and you can only play against who you can play with, and you guys are locked in a marriage forever with New Zealand. A lot is riding on the New Zealand is New Zealand. And I wonder if New Zealand is not as good as New Zealand normally is over the 5 teams, with the caveat that Chiefs are good, but the Blues, the Crusaders both have issues. And the Hurricanes don't seem like some of the Canes of old. Maybe they really miss some of the guys they've lost. I don't know. It's very interesting because the Tars have issues. Your Brumbies have a few issues. I don't know. It just feels like everyone has issues.
You talk about points for and against being the real measure, and the Chiefs and the Crusaders have both got healthy for and against now. But then you go down to the Reds are +18, the Force are -4 in fourth, the Brumbies are +6, the Waratahs are -47, the Hurricanes in seventh with 3 wins from 7 are +29. So they're winning well. They're winning well, but when they lose, they're getting scores put on them, except for on the weekend when they only lost by 1, obviously. So,
on the internals, like for the Waratahs, are very worrisome. Their gain line is terrible. They're running at 55% gain line, according to Opta. It's so far below the rest of the league because the Super Rugby is a high gain line league. They're not making any line breaks. So, I suppose that's my worry. Is I don't know what it all means. All I know is Chiefs are good and Crusaders are still a problem for the competition.
Trying to catch up.
They solved the Fijian problem, which is when you go to Fiji, limit the number of phases almost artificially. Do not go deep into your phases. And when you do kick the ball out into the river, into the slope.
The Crusaders played really narrow, really physical set piece game. They dragged the Drua into a game they didn't want to play, and they won it pretty comfortably.
Kick the ball into the crowd, have a lineout. They stole 6 lineouts. So you steal 6 lineouts, then that's almost like you did a 50-22 every time. It's great.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Smart.
This is what sums up the Waratahs' problems. They led 21-7 at halftime.
Yeah. And they didn't bring people off the bench like Tane Edmed at North Harbour, where he really is a star. He probably would have felt very comfortable.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, but they're in a bad spot at the moment. The Waratahs, they need to get over that this funk that they're in for sure. There's no doubt about that. It's week 14 in Japan in League One. Excuse our Japanese on the graphic there. Cannon Eagles beat Urayasu 33-22. That almost certainly confirms the D-Rocks for relegation there. Shizuoka had a big win over the Dynabors, 38-8. Saitama Wild Knights 55 beat Toyota for Blitz 17. That now confirms Panasonic's spot in the finals now, and Toshiba will get in as well if they win later on Sunday as well. The big one for me, Suntory Sun Goliath beat Mi Honda Heat 60-31. That puts Suntory now back in the top 6. And they've been floundering sort of 7th, 8th, 9th for the last month, 6 weeks. But they're now maybe coming good. So, there's been a bit of rotation through that middle pack. So,
I've been reading more Japanese because of this this feature. And I think I want to say things and know things. And so I know that they started playing rugby in 1866 in Japan, which is kind of amazing. And then when I look at the official website,
it only started in 1850s in England.
I know it came really quickly. Like it made its way to with trade missions and missionaries. It made its way to Japan really quickly. So 1860. But then I was reading their website, and it's very weird who they feature. They do feature. Obviously you would see like an Aaron Smith and Michael Hooper, but they also are really in love with Pablo Matera. And now I really want to understand why Japan is in love with Pablo Matera.
Yeah.
Does the name itself, does it mean cauliflower or something?
Pablo Matera. Maybe they just like saying it. I don't know.
They love this guy.
No. So there's 2 games to go on Sunday. Kabelko Kirby Steelers again playing Toshiba Brave Lupus. Toshiba can actually go back to first if they win. The Kubota Spears play Rico Black Rams. Kubota could go second with a win, and if Toshiba loses as well, which probably feels unlikely. There's 5 rounds to win in that. It actually feels like, with the possible exception of Suntory and Cannon Eagles in 7th, it basically feels like the top 6 is set. in Japan. Like the top two is pretty.
Yeah, it feels like it. Also, another thing I saw by looking at the official site is that they feature their coaches, kind of bragging, like, look at all these wonderful coaches that we have in our league, and we stole them away from you guys. And it's actually true. When you look across, you go,
it's true. Yeah.
Most of the teams we just talked about have recognizable,
international quality coaches. Yeah. It's a good point.
Wild.
It's a really good point. And last one to finish up, mate, is Major League Rugby Round 6. Old Glory DC.
Damn.
Yeah, we'll get to them. Old Glory beat Seattle. A strong first half pushed Nola Gold to a 33-19 win over Anthem RC. Houston Sabercats 22 lost to RFC LA. That's just finished just before we recorded. So that's LA's 4th win in a row now. They're going along all right, aren't they?
They found something, and it's very difficult to win. In Houston, also, it's very windy right now. It's sort of that monsoon season. Usually teams struggle, so that's actually a big thing.
Yeah, it is. It's a good win. And there's a heavy Australian feel too. RFC LA too. Steve Hoyle's coaching. There's a heap of young Australians over there. Christian Ilifano's turning back the clock, playing 10 as well. So the San Diego Legion are playing Chicago Hounds right as we record. And New England Free Jacks play Miami Sharks late on Sunday as well. Anything else to wrap it up? It's been a big weekend. Results, big weekend of scores.
No, I'll just say this. There's all kind of debates about how much attacking this and defensive that. And other leagues have had this problem too. NBA did this before, where they tried to have, lockdown, hands-on defense, and then they had the wide open scoring, which I guess exists right now. The one thing I will say, it's always about jeopardy and the feeling that you don't know what's going to happen next. So tight games like that Munster one or the one Castres, that is the only thing that really gets your juices going. So we should all want somehow that we sort out our competitions where we have the proper amount of people in the playoffs and we have tight games, whether it's big or small.
And at this point, I'll probably throw in that if you have a situation where teams are not picking, they are conceding knockout games and they're resting ball, they're sitting players out of it. If they're basically saying, we're not going to win this, therefore we're not going to play our internationals, you've got a major issue with your competition. And some of the score lines in those Champions Cup games for a round of 16, that's nuts. And that speaks to the format of the competition at the moment, doesn't it?
Yes, but it's two parallel comps, so they have to pick one or the other. It's just like football.
Sure. But if you're forcing that,
if you had those and you only had one comp and it was your only playoffs, then it's one thing.
It'd be fine.
They're kind of really transparent, almost naked about it. And the French teams, unless they're challenging for the top 14, only a couple can really. They are just quite upfront. If La Rochelle had started winning and kept winning in this one, that would have made their whole season. They wouldn't care where
absolutely.
They top 14.
Yeah, absolutely. But my point is that if you're going to play concurrent competitions, you should be forcing teams to choose, basically. And so maybe what it actually needs to be is it needs to be stripped back. Maybe it shouldn't be 24 teams in the Champions Cup.
What if you could decline it? Like you qualify, you get into the final 16, you go, I defer. I'm handing my spot to the Bulls. And they go, no, I don't want it either.
There you go. That then is another Weekend Post-Mortem behind us. Tell us what you think right here in the comments on our YouTube channel, which is just exploding still. You can leave a comment if you're listening on Spotify as well. So we'd love to hear from you. Make sure you're following the 8-9 Combo on Twitter and on YouTube and on Blue Sky as well. Please share us as far and wide as you can. Leave a rating or review wherever you can as well. It all helps. Harry and I remain on the socials in our usual places as well. This is the 8-9 Combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed in a rugby podcast. I'm Brett McKay. He's Harry Jones. And we will be back in your ears in just a few days' time with another great rugby chat with our good mate, Jeff Parks.
Come be our 5,000th subscriber and play with us.